Soldiers of Shoot.
All right. Soldiers of Shoot. The Sultan of Swag, the Captain of Cool, the Captain of Chaos, the one and only. Yes, the one and only Daddy Cool. AC. Right here on the Soldiers of Shoot YouTube channel. Be sure to check us out on YouTube at Soldiers of Shoot, on Twitter at Blading for Truth on Twitter, at DJ Stames on Twitter, at Steamtown Stunna with an A, not an R, on Twitter. The Electric City Saint is the group, and as always, they got your six, as we've seen here in the last few weeks. We're going to do a little indie wrestling tonight. And yeah, we'll do a little indie wrestling, and that's probably about it. Maybe it'll make the network, maybe it won't. We'll see what happens. A lot of big things going on. A lot of good shows. The other hosts, the big faction, the 3-man team over there is watching TNA and Impact. And, doing reviews and doing big things. And I'll stick to my little old indie stuff and my little old ROH stuff with my headshot on Twitter and all that fun stuff. Oh, man. So I was at Northeast Wrestling last night, the NEW Arena in Bethany, for a fantastic show. As always with Northeast Wrestling, I got to see, I believe for the second time, one of the up-and-coming stars in all of pro wrestling. And I've talked to some of the guys that I know in the business, and I'm asking why and how this guy isn't signed or with a company. And he's the Evolve champ. He's a fast rising star, the one and only Austin Theory. And if you're an indie guy, if you're an Evolve guy, if you're an XWA fan, he was an XWA champ for a while. He had a great run with JT Dunn over the summer. You might know who Austin Theory is. Trained by the one and only AR Fox from right here in Connecticut, who has, he's obviously down there in Atlanta training the likes of Austin Theory, who's basically a baby in the business. But I brought it up to some of the gentlemen in the know that I know. And one of these guys happens to be Conrad Thompson's right-hand man for StarCast 2 out there in Vegas before Double or Nothing. And they all say he's too young. Okay? I mean, I guess you have to be in your 30s to be in NXT or get the push from Ring of Honor or New Japan or whatever else out there, and Impact. Okay. I mean, who am I? Listen, I will tell you this. You may not know who I'm talking about when I say Austin Theory right now, but you will know at some point who Austin Theory is. I promise you this. I promise you. As I promised you with TK O'Ryan, as I promised you with Flip Gordon, as I promised you with Vinny Marseglia and Dijak and Hanson, and we'll go down the list of all the guys I promised you since I've been doing podcasts and YouTube channels and all this fun stuff. And I'm not saying this to be an asshole and be like, oh, I'm a talent scout or all this. I just see guys and I think they're good. And I just I know this guy's really fucking good. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, watching Austin Theory for the second time live, I am 100% blown away. In all phases. Looks, demeanor. He worked the heel gimmick. He's got the size. He's got the body. He's got the athleticism. He could do the flippity floppity flippity flu, but he can also work a strong style. Total package. Total package. This is the future of pro wrestling. This is the future, probably the biggest star in pro wrestling. I'm call me crazy. I've been called worse. Even on this own. I've been called worse in recent weeks. That's okay. This is the biggest star in wrestling future. Austin Theory. Remember the name. Look it up now. Go to Evolve shows and watch them. Get on board now before it's too late, because this is the man. I don't care where he goes, WWE, AEW, New Japan, Lucha Underground, Impact, ROH, your sister's ass. This guy is going to be the fucking man. I'm telling you. I promise you. If I'm wrong, you could tell me I'm wrong till the fucking cows come home. I don't care. I'm telling you now. And I gave you a bunch of guys I was right about. I haven't been wrong about many yet. There's other guys out there. Josh Briggs, Wrecking Ball Legursky, Big Bacon, Brad Halster, Christian Casanova, Sammy Guevara, JT Dunn, Darby Allin. I could go down lists and lists of guys that I tell you are going to be big. Austin Theory is going to be bigger. He's going to be bigger than every guy I ever brought up that I saw in indie scene. I'm telling you, I promise you. You can make checks payable to the Jazzy College Fund. If you so choose. All kidding aside, AR Fox, Austin Theory, Northeast Wrestling, Bethany, tremendous match. They put on a show. AR Fox making his Northeast Wrestling debut, which is, when you think about what he's meant to the New England indie wrestling scene the last decade, it's shocking to believe that, but it is. For whatever the reasons are, whatever the politics are, I don't know, and I'm not going to get into it, and nobody's told me. I've asked about the man before many times and gotten really no response or no answer. But he was here. He was here because of the future biggest name in pro wrestling, Austin Theory. But he was also there. He was also the baby face. He also had the crowd. He had the he had the draw, the attraction. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people that were in that arena didn't know who Austin Theory was at the time. But they knew who the fuck he was when he left. And they know who he is now. And they're going to know who he is for the future, because I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to keep saying it on this show till I could beat it in your little pea brains, that this man is the future of pro wrestling. He will be the biggest name in pro wrestling inside of 5 years. I promise you this. I promise you. If it doesn't happen, it's because he doesn't want it to happen. That's the only thing that's going to hold him back. Because if listen, I'm not a WWE talent scout. I don't have the ability to sign up. But if I did, I would have walked into that locker room with a blank contract and said, "Okay, bro, you're going to be the next biggest star in pro wrestling. What is it going to take to get you now?" And if you're part of a wrestling company and you think I'm just a crazy fan and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, you can miss the boat. Feel free. Miss the boat. Another match I want to bring up on Northeast Wrestling. March Mayhem at the Bethany Town Hall, at the Bethany Arena. Wrecking Ball Legursky versus Cold Steel Chuck O'Neil. You might know Chuck O'Neil if you're an MMA fan from season 13 of The Ultimate Fighter. He's also he's also fought for CES, a big MMA promotion up here in the Northeast, in the New England area. He also has been a New England pro wrestling guy for the last few years. had some injuries and is now back, and had this match with Wrecking Ball Legursky. And the reason why I bring this match up, and I'll tell you this right now, this is one of the best pro wrestling matches I've seen in a long time. And it's not because of the flippity flu. It's not because of the spots. Nobody's puking on a penis or shoving a lollipop up somebody's ass. And I'm not even disparaging those people for doing what they're doing to make a name for themselves, because I actually have no problem with what they're doing. Actually, I'm not going to say it's my favorite thing, but I understand it. This was an ass kissing. This was a fight, not a wrestling match. This was old school. This was not even old school. This was New Japan, never open weight, strong style. I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. You're going to beat the fuck out of me. This wasn't spot fest. This wasn't a, let's no-sell every move we get. This was the anti-Will Ospreay Ricochet match. No disrespect to those guys. This was a hardcore, beat the hell out of each other fight that was dubbed as a wrestling match between Wrecking Ball Legursky and Cold Steel Chuck O'Neil. And I have nothing to do but applaud both of them, because I thought it was tremendous. I see somewhat of a changing in the guard on the indie scene and on the smaller shows that may resonate to what fans like on the bigger shows. I think there's a place for the flippity flu. I think there's a place for the dick spots. I think there's a place for the lollipops and the light bulbs and hardcore matches and all the bullshit we see in wrestling now. I think there's a place for it all. But I also think there's still a place for what this match was. An ass kicking. A fight. There were times, and all of my been watching wrestling for all these years, and all my fantasy booking, and I'm the asshole in the crowd that's like, oh, the lights are going to turn off, and this guy's going to run in and hit him with a knee, and, they're going to get the pin, and the ref's never going to see it, and the crowd's going to go crazy. I'm that motherfucker. I'm the asshole in the crowd going, oh, yeah, it's a non-title match. The tag champs are going to lose because this guy's going to run out and roll him up, and, I'm that guy. I'm not going to lie to you. But I'm also the guy that loves this. And I think wrestling's been starving for this in so many ways. Just two badass motherfuckers who got in a ring and decided to kick the shit out of each other for the fans' enjoyment and to tell a story and to do something, let's face it, that's different right now, but I think it's coming back to this. Methodical, storytelling, impact, believable. Everything told me that it's a wrestling match, but I also at sometimes are like, wow, fuck, Wrecking Ball pissed Cold Steel off. He's beating the shit. Oh shit, he's going back. They're fighting. There were times watching this match, I'm like, are they really fighting? Everything in my brain tells me they're not really fighting, but there's that glimmer of, holy shit, are they really fighting? Tremendous. Fucking-mendous. I was glad I was there to see it. So kudos to those guys. They put on a tremendous match. All in all, show was tremendous. Private Party, Mark Quinn and his tag team partner escapes my name, and I should have it ready, and I don't, which is terrible. But I will look it up quickly here. But the Private Party tag team, they opened the show for NEW in tag team action versus. Here we go. Hang on. Sorry, guys. I'm pulling it up right now because I want to give everybody their fair due. Just because, listen, these guys put on a fucking show at Northeast Wrestling last night, and I want to make sure everybody sees that. Here we go. They Private Party opened the show against here we go, I got it here. The open show against the Graysons, the Amazing Graysons, the Royal Graysons, depending on depending on what time frame you've seen them, they've had all those names. But Private Party opens the show against them. Marquand, who I saw Marquand wrestle, it feels like ages ago now. At Us versus Them, which is now Blitzkrieg. And now he's in this tag team, Private Party, who Matt Jackson actually tweeted about not so long ago with the little eyes emoji. Basically saying, we're looking after this team. And I think that AEW could do a lot worse for tag teams. I thought both tag teams, Private Party and the Graysons, worked a solid match, worked a tag team match, checked all the boxes, gave you the little flippity ploo. They gave you some little bit of a strong style at times, but they worked the corners, they cut the ring off. Just the kind of things you want to see in the tag team wrestling. You got the hot tags, and Private Party gets the win. Which I think the crowd like to see, and I think they have a big future in Northeast Wrestling and beyond. Who knows, maybe with AEW or whoever else down the road with two athletic, tremendous guys with the Private Party there. And obviously Marquand, who's part of that team, I told you I have an affinity for, and I nothing but big things for them. They moved on from there to JT Dunn, who... if you're longtime fans of Cool Down with AC, you heard me talk about JT Dunn many times. I've already talked about AR Fox. I still to this day will say the best indie match I've ever seen in my entire life happened in Cranston, Rhode Island, almost 4 years ago to the day. JT Dunn, AR Fox in Cranston, Rhode Island for XWA on a Sunday afternoon as I was sitting... 3 feet from Tommaso Ciampa, Roddy Strong, and Matt Taven, watching JT Dunn and AR Fox tear the fucking roof off the building. Still my favorite indie match I've ever seen. And I'll tell you, Wrecking Ball and Chuck O'Neil came close. They really did. They really did. And Theory and AR Fox wasn't far off either this weekend. But you got JT Dunn and the Red Lion Chris Battle. In a match where JT goes over, JT gets the W. JT's on his big title push for Northeast Wrestling, so no surprise of him getting the win there. Solid showing from the Red Lion Chris Battle, who's a staple at the Bethany Town Hall, a staple for Northeast Wrestling. So you got a good match there. Moving on from there, you get another tag match. You get Jimmy Preston and Ron Zombie, the trust fund team there with Gerald Silberkrite, who might be one of the better managers in all of wrestling, versus the Perfect Gamble, Mike Gamble, the Sumo Mike Gamble, and Dexter Lou, who... What I feel about Perfect Gamble as a tag team and as being pro wrestlers is probably an argument for another show I'm going to do later in the week. So I'm going to save that conversation for that. I will say it was a pretty good match. And at the end of the match, heading into their tables match versus Wrecking Ball Legursky and Bully Ray, Jimmy Preston and Ron Zombie, the trust fund, went to put Mike Gamble through the table. Buddy Costa came out for the save and ended up going through the table himself. So that's where we ended up with that one. Yeah, I mean, my buddy there, unbelievable. We then moved on to a shot at the crown, the Northeast Wrestling King, Brian Anthony, who's in his mind the king of all wrestling. Put the crown on the line against Keith Youngblood, the former Adrenaline Rush member. You've heard him on Cool Down with AC. You will hear him on Cool Down with AC or Soldiers of Shoot or whatever we ended up doing it on probably within the next 2 weeks before WrestleFest. Had a nice conversation with Youngblood. in person and via text, and we're gonna get him on one of the shows, and hopefully on Soldiers of Shoot YouTube channel, and maybe on Cool Down with AC. We'll see how it all pans out as we hear. But if you're a fan of me and what I do, you'll hear him shortly. He comes up short. Don Baron Vito, Brian Anthony's stooge, interferes in the match and gets Brian the win, as we all knew would probably happen, because let's face it, if you're a fan of Northeast Wrestling, it's almost a cold day in hell to watch Brian Anthony lose a match. And given the spot he's in, headed into WrestleFest, putting the crown up against David Arquette in the main event, we've all watched wrestling for a long time. We don't even need to go there. Moving on from there, you had Wrecking Ball and Chuck O'Neil, which we talked about. Moving on from that, we had Austin Theory versus AR Fox, which we talked about. And moving on from there, you had another tag team match for a future tag team title shot in Zane Lee Rude, Zane Bernardo, and RJ Rude, one of the rising tag stars in Northeast Wrestling, the youngsters, so to speak. And Zane Bernardo, who's part of this tag team, I pretty much have known since he was a baby almost, is now in a major tag team in Northeast Wrestling. It's pretty cool stuff. And they took on the incumbent King's Court, Dan Evans, who you've heard multiple times on with me, Cool Down with AC, who I've asked him to come on and talk again. Now, he's not thrilled with me because he thinks that I've sided with Keith Youngblood, which I have, his former tag team partner, which he screwed over. Wasn't watching his six like others. But anyway, Dan Evans isn't thrilled with me, but I've asked him to come on and we could hash out our differences on air. So we'll see if he has the stones to do it. We could do it on Soldier Shoot. We could do it on Cool Down with AC. We could do it on your sister's ass. I don't really care. Let's just get it done, baby. Either way, him and Anthony battle, the incumbent Northeast Wrestling Tag Champions, put a future title shot on the line. The titles were not on the line when they faced in Zane Lee Rude, and what was a very good match. Again, the kind of working traditional tag team match, cutting off the ring, the hot tags, everything you want to see in a tag match, these guys did. When you had, at this point, what you probably called the Grizzled Vets and Dan Evans and Anthony Battle of Northeast Wrestling versus the young upstarts, the teeny boppers, so to speak, in Zane Lee Rude. I thought it was a pretty cool match. Youngblood came out for the save as Don Baron Vito, the Brian Anthony stooge, probably the most annoying person in the history of pro wrestling, tried to take out in Zane Lee Rude Keith Youngblood with the save. Zane Bernardo gets the roll up of Dan Evans, which is hilarious. I mean, Dan Evans, Mr. Badass with your green suit and your tattoo and your tan, Mr. Danger Punch gets rolled up by a fucking teeny bopper. Hilarious. I can't wait till he hears this. But anyway, a future title shot for Zane Lee Rude. Who knows? Next time we're in the Bethany Town Hall, if they don't lose the titles to Youngblood and Jerry Lawler at WrestleFest, they'll probably lose them to Zane Lee Rude. Because I think this, I don't even think they have they even defended the titles yet? I think they've just been carrying them around and having random matches without actually defending their titles. Worst tag team in the history of pro wrestling. But anyway, we move on to the main event. The fan favorite, the guy who's getting the big pop, the winner of the over the top Rumble, the one and only, the Man Scout, Jake Manning, who's everybody's going bonkers over. And listen, it's fun. It's the Man Scout. But he was also in the ring with two of my favorites, the incumbent Northeast Wrestling champion, the one and only Big Bacon Brad Hollister, and one of my personal favorites. And he's heel as heel could come, but he's just too good not to like. The one and only Killanova, Christian Casanova, in a 3-way for the Northeast Wrestling title, the main event, March Mayhem in Bethany. And this was kind of a back and forth match. You kind of got the spot early on where Man Scout and Bacon were going to take out Casanova until you ironically would assume one would screw the other over. Then they start fighting each other, which is pretty much what you got. You got everybody kind of had their shine in this match, had their moments. I thought it was a very good match. And just as you think the Man Scout is going to finally win that Northeast Wrestling strap, Big Bacon pulls him out of the ring, gets the pin himself, and retains his title, and then refuses to shake hands with Jake Manning, the Man Scout, and Big Bacon will head to WrestleFest to defend his title against the one and only Darby Allin, which is as tough of a title defense as he's probably had. And we'll see where Jake Manning and Casanova come out of here. I've heard some rumors about some big matches for Casanova. Not really sure where the Man Scout heads from here. He claimed after the show that he's still gunning for that Northeast Wrestling Championship. So a lot of ways we can go as we get into the hot and heavy season for Northeast Wrestling, where you get basically a Bethany show every 3 to 4 weeks, and you get the stadium shows up and down the East Coast, and even somewhat toward the middle of the country there. You get the stadium Wrestling for the Stars shows, which they bring in a lot of big stars, but you also get the Northeast Wrestling stars. So that's where we're headed with Northeast Wrestling. I wasn't at the XWA Rumble, mainly because it was on the same night as March Mayhem for NEW. And JT Dunn, who I talked about earlier, who wrestled at Northeast Wrestling against Chris Battle, shot up to Rhode Island there for the XWA Rumble and defended his title against AEW signee Sammy Guevara, and actually lost his title to Sammy Guevara. So Sammy Guevara is the new XWA champion. We'll see where that heads for XWA. I hear rumors he's headed to Bethany. Maybe, unconfirmed, he's headed to Bethany for March 4th against a game opponent who had a title match recently. We'll put it that way, as this is unconfirmed news that he's going to wrestle Chris Casanova on May 4th at Wrestle Bethany. We'll get it confirmed. But for that, this is a little indie report, and we're having a little fun with the Sultan of Swag, the Captain of Cool, the Captain of Chaos, the one and only Daddy Cool AC, right here on the Soldiers of Shoot Network. We out.
Soldiers of Shoot.